Hello everyone, we'll start with the new topic, that is gallstones. It is also called as cholelithiasis. Gallstones or cholelithiasis. It is very common biliary pathology and it is classified according to their chemical composition. The gallstones are classified according to their chemical composition. Which chemicals are there in the particular stone, according to that they are classified. So first stone is cholesterol stones. They are about 6%. These stones are solitary stones. So first stone is cholesterol stones. Second stone is mixed stones, and they are about 90%. They are multiple and they are faceted. The stones will have facet on them. Okay, the major component of mixed stone is cholesterol, and the other components are calcium bilirubinate, calcium phosphate, calcium carbonate, calcium palmitate, and some proteins. And third stone is pigment stones. They are composed almost of calcium bilirubinate. Okay, over here it is written calcium carbonate, but it has to be calcium bilirubinate. Okay, these pigment stones are small, they are black and multiple. Some pigment stones are very hard and they are like coral like stones, and others some stones are soft, and there may be a concretion of sludge than stones. They may be semi-solid. Okay, so these are the three types of gallstones. First one is cholesterol stones. They are about 6%, and the composition of course is cholesterol. Second one is mixed stones. They are about 90%. These are multiple and faceted, while the cholesterol stones are solitary. Okay, mixed stones are multiple and they are faceted, and the component of mixed stone is mostly, the major component is cholesterol, while other components are various calcium compounds. Those are calcium bilirubinate, calcium phosphate, calcium carbonate, calcium palmitate, and some proteins. And third stone is pigment stone, which is almost composed of calcium bilirubinate. They are small, black, and they are multiple. Among pigment stones, some are hard and some are coral like, while others are soft, and there may be a concretion of sludge than that of the stones. Okay, so these are the three types: cholesterol, mixed, and pigment stones. The incidence of this stone is, or the etiological criteria of gallstone is, it is mostly found in fat, fertile, flatulent female of 50 years of age. Okay, so most commonly found in the person who is fat, fertile, flatulent, most commonly found in female of 50 years of age. So you have to remember 5 F's. Okay, then it is common in childhood and olds, but it occurs in both the sexes, but most commonly in female of 50. In Europe, 30% of female over 60 years of age will have gallstones, and it is rare in Africa and Indian subcontinent. Now we'll move towards the etiological factors. The etiological factors are multifactorial. There are various theories that may lead to gallstone formation. The first theory is metabolic theory, second one is infective, and third one is bile stasis. So first we'll move towards the cholesterol or mixed stones, the etiological factors of cholesterol and mixed stones. So the first factor is metabolic factor in cholesterol and mixed stones. The metabolic factor is the main composition of cholesterol and mixed stone is, as we have seen, is cholesterol. So this cholesterol is insoluble in water and it is held in solution by the detergent action of bile acids and phospholipids. The bile containing gallstones has excess of cholesterol, therefore the cholesterol crystals are formed, and that type of bile is called as supersaturated or lithogenic bile. Okay, and the bile cholesterol increases. This bile cholesterol will increases with age and women with OCPs, that is oral contraceptive pills, who are taking OCPs. Okay, then the concentration of bile salts in bile is reduced by estrogens. The estrogens will reduce the concentration of bile salts, and also factors which interrupt the enterohepatic circulation of bile. So this is the metabolic theory. Cholesterol normally present in the bile in large quantities, and the normal ratio of bile salt to cholesterol is 25:1. And if the level of bile salt will decline, or if the cholesterol elevates, once again I will repeat. The cholesterol normally present in the bile in bile in large quantities, and the normal ratio of bile salt to cholesterol is 25:1. And if the level of bile salt declines or cholesterol elevates, then the cholesterol will precipitate and stone will form. Okay, so this bile cholesterol will increase with the age and women who are taking OCPs, and the concentration of bile salt in bile is reduced by estrogen and also by some factors which interrupt the enterohepatic circulation of bile. So when there is any disturbance in this ratio, that will lead to deposition of cholesterol in the bile, and it will lead to stone formation. Okay, second theory is infections. The role of infection is unknown, but the bile of the patient is sterile, but the organisms have been cultured from the centers of gallstones. So the role of infection is unknown. Then third one is bile salts, bile stasis. The gallbladder contractility will decrease by estrogen, then in pregnancy and after truncal vagotomy, and therefore there will be increase in incidence of gallstones. As when there is decrease in gallstone contractility, like in estrogen, while by estrogen, or in pregnancy, or when after the truncal vagotomy, there will bile, so there will be stasis of bile, that is stagnation of bile in the gallbladder, and that will lead to stone formation. Also, a patient on long term parenteral nutrition will have higher incidence of formation of stones, and that is because of lack of good oral intake, that will prevent the release of cholecystokinin. And this cholecystokinin, it is a hormonal stimulant of gallbladder contraction. So when the patient is on the long term parenteral nutrition, there will be no release of cholecystokinin, and the function of cholecystokinin is it stimulates the gallbladder contraction. So when there is gallbladder contraction is decreased, there will be stasis of bile in the gallbladder, and that will lead to gallstone formation. Okay. Then the pigment stones. Third type of stone is pigment stone, and the etiological factors of pigment stones are these stones are seen in patients with hemolysis, where the bilirubin production is increased. In those conditions where there is the hemolysis occur, and where the bilirubin production is increased, so the pigment stones are formed. We have seen in composition that pigment stones are composed of calcium bilirubinate. So these pigment stones are seen in hemolytic condition, where the bilirubin production is increased, and the conditions are hereditary spherocytosis, sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, malaria, and when there is mechanical destruction of red cells by the prosthetic heart valves. It is also seen in cirrhosis of liver, and it is seen throughout the biliary tree, including intrahepatic duct. Then these gallstones are seen in relation to other disorders like diverticulosis of colon or hiatus hernia. So when these three conditions are present, that is gallstones, diverticulosis of colon and hiatus hernia, then that condition is called as Saint's triad. This can be asked as a 2-mark question. Okay, Saint's triad, that is gallstone, hiatus hernia and diverticulosis of colon. When all these three disorders are present at a time, then that is Saint's triad. Then there are some effects and complications of gallstones, usually found in gallbladder and maybe in bile duct. So the effects and complications of gallstones are: in gallbladder, the stones may remain silent, or there may be it may lead to complications like chronic cholecystitis or acute cholecystitis or mucosal or carcinoma. Then in bile duct, the complications or effect in bile duct are obstructive jaundice. It may lead to obstructive jaundice or cholangitis or acute relapsing pancreatitis. And in intestine, the complications are acute intestinal obstruction. There is one entity that is called as silent stone when the calculus present in the gallbladder, but there will be no symptoms lifetime. About 10% of gallstones are radio-opaque and may be discovered accidentally on X-rays for another condition. And the treatment for silent gallstone is cholecystectomy. Cholecystectomy should be done. Okay. Then the complication of gallstone is acute calculus cholecystitis. The 95% of gallstones are present in Hartmann's pouch, or they obstruct the cystic duct. The bacterial infection will lead to gangrene of gallbladder. So, in acute calculus cholecystitis, gallbladder often already affected by chronic cholecystitis, and when it is acutely inflamed, that condition is called as acute calculus cholecystitis. In 95% of cases, gallstone is found in impacted in Hartmann's pouch. The gallstone is found impacted in Hartmann's pouch, or it may obstruct the cystic duct. The bacteria can be cultured from the bile or gallbladder wall, and the organisms present are E. coli, Klebsiella, then Streptococcus faecalis, and the anaerobic bacteria like bacteroids are very uncommon, and some gas forming organisms like Clostridia that will rarely infect gallbladder, and gas can be seen in gallbladder, and typhoidal infection, which is serious infection and that may cause perforation. The sequel to attack of acute cholecystitis are distension of gallbladder, when it reaches to certain degree, the mucous membrane will tend to be lifted from the sides of stones, and therefore stone may slip back to the body of gallbladder, and mucoid or mucopurulent content of gallbladder escape through the cystic duct. So this is first sequelae of attack of acute cholecystitis, that is distension of gallbladder. When the distension of gallbladder will reach to the certain degree, the mucous membrane will be lifted from the sides of stones, okay, and the stones may slip back to the body of gallbladder, and the content, that is mucoid or mucopurulent content of gallbladder, will escape through the cystic duct. This is one sequelae. The another is, if the impaction persists, then that will result in empyema, or you can say pyocele of gallbladder, okay. And third sequelae or third complication is there will be perforation. Perforation is a rare condition. The distended and inflated gallbladder may perforate. Okay. Then the clinical features of acute calculus cholecystitis. The onset of this acute condition is obviously it is sudden. There will be pain which is present in right hypochondrium. Then there will be severe nausea, vomiting in early stages. Then there is pyrexia, that is temperature is increased, patient will have fever, and there will be neutrophilia. As there is infection, there will be neutrophilia. Then on examination, there will be tenderness and rigidity in right hypochondrium. And when the patient is relaxed, a mass consisting of inflamed gallbladder with adherent greater omentum attached may be felt. If the patient is relaxed, then you can feel a mass in right hypochondriac region that will consist of inflamed gallbladder and the greater omentum. Then one of the sign, that is Bowes sign, that is present. That is, the Bowes sign is the area of hyperesthesia between the 9th and 11th rib on the posteriorly on right side. So Bowes sign is, there is area of hyperesthesia between 9th and 11th rib posteriorly on right side. This can be asked as a 2 marks question. The investigations that has to be done in acute calculus cholecystitis are abdominal and chest X-ray to rule out other causes. Then the radiopaque stones can be seen through the X-rays. Okay. Then oral cholecystography, that is unreliable during acute attack and it is postponed until the recovery. Then USG, that is ultrasonography, is done which will confirm the diagnosis. Okay, so investigation or diagnosis is done by X-ray, through which the radiopaque stones may be seen, can be seen, and the oral cholecystography, which is unreliable in during the acute attack, but when you do USG, that is ultrasonography, then it will confirm the diagnosis. The differential diagnosis is acute appendicitis, then perforated peptic ulcer, then acute pancreatitis, acute pyelonephritis right-sided, and right lower lobe pneumonia. So these are the various differential diagnoses. You have to differentiate this acute cholecystitis with these conditions. The treatment of acute cholecystitis is, in 90% cases, that will be benefited by conservative treatment. The conservative treatment is followed by cholecystectomy. So the non-operative treatment, that is conservative treatment, is nasogastric aspiration, and you have to start with nasogastric aspiration and IV fluids. You have to give analgesics to relieve the pain. As there is infection, temperature is increased, and there is neutrophilia, then you have to start with antibiotics. And the subsequent management is when the signs of inflammation decreases, then the nasogastric tube is removed, the IV fluids are followed by fat-free diet. Then you have to start with fat-free diet. And the cholecystectomy is performed after the acute attack is completely resolved. Usually 3 weeks later you have to do the cholecystectomy, that is after the acute attack is completely resolved. So this is all about the acute calculus cholecystitis. Okay, I will repeat the acute calculus cholecystitis shortly. That is this acute calculus cholecystitis, the gallbladder in acute calculus cholecystitis, the gallbladder is often already affected with chronic cholecystitis and it is acutely inflamed. So patient will have chronic cholecystitis, and when it is acutely inflamed, the gallbladder is acutely inflamed, then that condition is acute calculus cholecystitis. In about 95% of cases, the gallstone is impacted in Hartmann's pouch or it is obstructing the cystic duct, and that the bacteria that can be cultured from bile or gallbladder wall. Mostly the organisms are E. coli, Klebsiella, Streptococcus faecalis, and the anaerobic organisms like bacteroids or gas forming organisms like Clostridia, or when there is typhoidal infection. The result or sequelae to the attack of acute cholecystitis is it may lead to distension of gallbladder, or if the impaction of gallstone is persist, then it will result in empyema or pyocele of gallbladder. And third complication is perforation, but which is a rare condition. And the clinical feature of acute cholecystitis, acute calculus cholecystitis is our onset, which is sudden. There will be pain in right hypochondrium. There will be severe nausea and vomiting in early stages. There will be temperature and neutrophilia. And on examination, there will be tenderness and rigidity in right hypochondrium. And the Bowes sign that is present, that is hyperesthesia between 9th and 11th rib posteriorly on right side. And for diagnosis, X-ray and USG is done. And you have to differentiate with other conditions like appendicitis, perforated peptic ulcer, acute pancreatitis, acute pyelonephritis, or right lower lobe pneumonia. And treatment include conservative treatment where 90% the attack will subside with this conservative treatment, that is non-operative treatment. It includes nasogastric aspiration and IV fluids. Then you have to give analgesics, antibiotics, and afterwards you have to remove the when the infection subsides or when the signs of inflammation get reduced, then you have to remove the nasogastric tube and you have to stop the IV fluids, and patient is advised to have fat-free diet. And after 3 weeks later, you can go for operative treatment, that is cholecystectomy. The another condition, that is mucocele of gallbladder. Mucosal of gallbladder occurs when the neck of gallbladder is obstructed by stones. When the neck of gallbladder is obstructed by stone, but the content remain sterile. The bile is absorbed and it is replaced by mucus secreted by gallbladder epithelium. The gallbladder is palpable, and it also occurs in cases of malignancy which occlude cystic duct. The enormous size and shape may be encountered, that is empyema of gallbladder. The gallbladder is filled with pus, but over half cases bacteria cannot be cultured from the pus. It may be a sequelae to the acute cholecystitis or a result of mucosal becoming infected. And the treatment of mucosal is cholecystectomy, that is removal of gallbladder. So this is the mucosal of gallbladder. Once again I will repeat, it occurs when the neck of gallbladder is obstructed by stones, or it may occur in malignant condition where if the malignancy is present in the cystic duct, then the neck of gallbladder is obstructed and there will be a formation of mucosal. The bile is absorbed and replaced by the mucus secreted by the gallbladder epithelium. And in this condition, when there is mucosal of gallbladder, the gallbladder is palpable, and if it takes enormous size and shape, then that condition may be called as empyema of gallbladder. Mostly the fluid that is present in the mucosal, which is sterile, and the gallbladder is filled with pus, but in empyema, when the gallbladder is filled with pus, over the half cases the bacteria cannot be cultured from that pus, and this condition is a complication, or it is a sequelae to the acute cholecystitis, or it is a result of mucosal that may becomes infected. So in mucosal, the content of gallbladder is sterile, but in empyema it may turn there will be pus in the gallbladder. The gallbladder will be filled with pus, okay, in empyema. And in mucosal there will be only a mucus that is present, which is sterile. So this cholelithiasis or gallstones, this can be asked as a long question for 20 marks, and the short note can be asked for on the acute calculus cholecystitis. Short note can be asked on acute calculus cholecystitis, and the 2 marks questions like silent gallstones or Boas sign and Saint's triad, or composition of mixed stones or pigment stones. Then the etiological factors of pigment stone. This 2 marks question can be asked. Okay, then another condition that is present in gallstones, or the complication of one of the complication of gallstone, that is chronic calculus cholecystitis, that we will see in next lecture. Okay, that is also asked for a 10 it is asked for 10 marks question. Okay, Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.